What a mess this year. The complexity to having to plan in different political scenarios, finding creative solutions to enable mobility and cooperation, and keep our staff motivated and connected, and not falling into depression.
The biggest challenge was making sure that all of our staff around the world and the people who are participating in our programs and projects were okay, that if they wanted to return home, they were able to do so, and if they wanted to stay on the project or program, that we were doing everything that we could to support them.
Well, running the Erasmus Plus program during the pandemic definitely was a challenge because as a national agency, we had to adapt the processes, we had to adapt the organization to support Erasmus Plus students and staff abroad, all facing difficult situations. So yes, and we had to do that while finalizing and launching a new Erasmus Plus program. That was a challenge.
Except for the lockdown and its limitations to the international mobility, the situation caused by COVID-19 in fact brought quite some positive changes in our mindsets, the use of technologies, especially the digital ones, as well as to the home-based working. We grasped the potential of the digital technologies with our daily work, as well as for our promotional and training activities, and managed to attract many more participants to our virtual events than we did before.
The biggest challenge for the German Academic Exchange Service is to enable the continuation of academic cooperation across borders, despite the far-reaching travel restraints. Adapting our programs to the new normal, however this will look like, and fostering sustainable international academic cooperation continues to be our main objective.
The biggest challenge that our organization has faced during this past year has been the interruption to our international programs, and then the need for quick action, often based on limited information.
The COVID-19 pandemic has caused interruption in various sectors, including international higher education. Test center closures due to lockdowns in some countries created disruptions for international students and institutions. Students are not able to take and submit their language test scores on time. For students, it delayed their plan to commence their studies. And for institutions, it disrupted their time-sensitive admission process.
Perhaps the biggest challenge has been to constantly adapt to an environment where frequent change and uncertainty have become the norm. During the past year, we had to literally reinvent ourselves, become more flexible and creative, and switch to digital mode in all our activities in order to continue effective communication with our institutions, provide support whenever needed, and find new ways of promoting international education under these difficult circumstances.
Biggest challenge was the massive change overnight, from routines to unknown. Most of our staff were used to distant working, but not on a regular basis. Today we've been working from home 409 consecutive days. The change in working culture is huge, and we don't know what the future will bring.
The biggest challenge for internationalization was inability to start up the new international projects, offer new scholarship schemes or cooperation outlooks. As it is absolutely clear now, in order to start up new initiatives, you need three-dimensional interaction with prospective partners, at least in Georgia.
The major challenge was and still is to ensure the continuity of the NAVA programs. We have tried to be as flexible and understanding as possible for our beneficiaries to maintain the continuity of the projects. In many cases, we managed to extend projects to upcoming years. In other cases, we were able to carry out programs fully online.
The pandemic. We have been extremely busy guiding our universities through the sudden crisis of COVID-19, especially 1 year ago when we had hundreds of Erasmus students abroad. So we had to act quickly while being dependent on the instructions given by the European Commission. And this high level of coordination needed from a home office setting, that was definitely a huge task for us.
The use of technology as a tool to gain efficiency and its ability to adapt to change. We facilitated continuous support and communication to universities and educational organizations so as for them to provide participants in international mobilities with the necessary online tools and digital resources to overcome the negative effect caused by the pandemic.
The pandemic has brought us travel restrictions and also other safety restrictions, which made us worry about the future of internationalization and also the future of mobilities. Especially to keep the quality of our services to students and researchers, and also to keep them feeling safe, was the biggest challenge during this time.
The biggest challenge faced by Swiss universities last year was the coordination of the national response to the universities to the corona pandemic. Swiss universities coordinated and supported the universities in the implementation of their individual protection plans. Furthermore, the relation with the European Union was also a major issue in our work.
During the past year, our greatest challenge was to reconsider the mobilities with the introduction and application of temporary and flexible regulations. Our objective was to understand the new situation and identify its properties by conducting relevant researches and establishing evidence-based policies. We also recognize the challenge of transitioning to virtual events and services, while we also had to evaluate and develop or support activities.
Our biggest challenge right at the beginning of this COVID year was just trying to get a handle on all the very many dimensions of the COVID crisis and what we needed to do to fix them. Just getting a kind of group of people around the table and a really solid understanding of the issues at play and what was most important and what we could do something about.
The most important challenge for our institution was and still is the digital transformation and the paperless function. This need has been intensified by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has reinforced the need for distance working of our employees, the need for distance services in all the facets of the private and public sector in Greece. This transformation requires a multifaceted process ranging from the adoption of governance, institutional management, compliance for control and risk management in everyday practice, and digital communication tools to reach the stakeholders and the public. I must say that this transformation, although challenging, was fully embraced in our institution.
Italy has been the first country to face the pandemic crisis with the closure of the frontiers, schools, universities. We had to respond to this emergency very soon to help our beneficiaries, and we had to reorganize all our work. It has been very challenging.
Nice to hear that all our main challenges were COVID-19 related. Just to name a few of them, dealing with the sudden shift to online education, the mental health of our students and staff, constantly adapting to fast-changing government decisions, and of course also managing the growing tensions between scientists and politicians.
The 12th pandemic in IIE's history. And we know that even during pandemics, international educational exchange continues, and especially afterwards, always substantially grows. So these are the biggest challenges we face, continuing during a pandemic, doing all we can to promote exchange, and then get ready for the surge that will come when it's declared over. And that surge is a very good thing.